Hey guys, Yoongi here, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the songs that made me stan certain K-pop groups, mainly just because I thought it'd be a fun topic to talk about, and I would love to open the discussion in the comments for you guys to share with me what songs made you stan your favourite groups. When I talk about the songs that made me stan a group, this doesn't necessarily mean it's the first song of theirs that I liked. It could have been that I enjoyed some of their early releases, but I didn't decide to stan yet. For me, the song that got me to stan is the one where I finally decided, okay, yep, I love this group, I want to follow them as a fan, I want to learn more about them and support them as a stan, if you will, and listen to more of their releases. So before we start, these are just my opinions. Please note that I am not saying that this is the right way to do anything. These were just when I decided personally to like a group, and I'm in no way intending to send any hate to any artist or individual by saying I don't like their other music or things like that. I don't know. Sometimes people can infer different things from what you're trying to say, and I promise there's no underlying message here. I'm literally just talking about the songs that made me decide to like certain groups. Okay, so without further ado, let's get going. We're going to start with one of the biggest groups, because why not? BTS. I don't think I could talk about this video without saying, hey, I am a BTS fan, by the way. My username is Dear Yoongi. The song that made me stan BTS is War of Hormone.
Hello, 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 hello. Tell me what you want right now.
See, for me, this was actually the first BTS song I heard, and I decided to stan them straight away. A friend recommended this song to me because she thought I would like it, so she sent me a link to the music video and told me to just check this out completely out of the blue. I hadn't even heard of BTS before that, and she was right. It was right up my alley. I thought that the song was so fun, and that, I don't know, the whole vibe of the music video and like the way they were playing around, it made them seem likable, and it made me want to investigate them more, rather than it just being like, oh, this song is cool. It was more like, the song is cool and so are they. And here I am now. How many years later are we on now? 8? Bloody hell, 8 years later. Now I probably wouldn't say it's one of my favourite songs by them or anything. I don't really even listen to that song often. It's just nice to see that's how it got me to where I am today. Next up, let's talk about EXO, because this is the first boy group I probably started stanning, and the song that made me stan EXO was Wolf. Okay guys, don't laugh, but I loved this song. It was the first EXO song I heard as well, and it was quite early when I started checking out K-pop, because it was coming up in a lot of the suggestions, and like anybody, I was just curious. For some reason, this song had me proper hooked and intrigued to learn more about this group. I then went on to go and watch EXO Showtime, because it was around that time, I think, maybe a bit later, that it was all out and all the episodes were out and subtitled by that point. And it became my sweet release when I came home from like a Saturday job that I hated, so I was only like 15, 16 at this point. And for some reason, a song like Wolf grabbed my attention, and then I went on and listened to some of their other releases. That's why I kind of have like an attachment to Wolf. So when everyone talks about how cringe and bad it is, I'm like, no, that's a song that made me an EXO fan. And I love so many of EXO's songs now, and their albums have some of the best B-sides I've ever heard. And it's all thanks to Wolf that I introduced myself to them. So yeah, special place in my heart for a meme song. Next group I want to talk about are my alts, or one of a few anyways, and that is 17. The song that made me stan them was Adore You. It's because I really adored this group from debut. Was that really cringy? I'm sorry. I've got it written down in my notes and I was like, I'm not going to say that, am I? Apparently I am. No, but seriously, I will admit, I didn't follow them pre-debut or anything, but I kind of wish I did now. I knew of them from a friend who was following them pre-debut, and she was so hyped to check out their debut, so I was excited to check it out too. And then the vibes, I'd say, were pretty much spot on for me from the start. Like, you know, you kind of get a vibe and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be interested in this, aren't I? That's kind of what happened. I was like, yeah, this is something I can get behind. Because how fun was Adore You, for starters? And then there was just, I don't know, the thrill of there being so many of them, and this really cool concept I haven't seen before, and having 3 units, and I was kind of sucked in straight away, and I'm glad that I was, because I'm still a massive fan of 17 today. I keep going through eras where I'm obsessed with 17 for like a few weeks, and all I do is listen to and talk about 17, and then I go back to normal standing, and then I go into only talking about 17 again for weeks, and I'm currently just coming out of my only talking about 17 again for weeks phase, so here I am now, moving on to the next artist because I can. Next group I want to talk about standing is Red Velvet, and the song that made me stan them was Happiness. This This one probably has a special place in my heart because Red Velvet debuted pretty early into my time as a K-pop stan, and by this point I was a fan of a few SM artists like EXO and FX and things like that. So to hear SM were debuting a new girl group was so exciting for me because it was going to be my first time watching them debut a new girl group, and I got to watch their careers from the beginning. When Happiness came out, I loved the song and concept. Weirdly enough, I remember the first time I watched the music video and being like, oh, this is so great, you know, with the different coloured hair and like the fun concept. It was right up my alley. And then they added Yeri to the group, and I personally feel like that made them even stronger. Ice Cream Cake was one of my favourite songs by them, I think still is now. It just made perfect sense to me, and I'm really glad that I got to experience the beginning of their careers because it was a really fun time in my opinion. I remember clear as day all the fan conspiracies about how they had all the different member trainees in the Happiness music video, including Yeri, and then she got added to the group, and it was, will they, won't they add any more trainees as the years go on? And then of course you've got the Red concept versus the Velvet concept. It was just all super interesting to me. CLC is another group I have to talk about because I miss them already, and the song that got me to stan them is Pepe. This is another group I loved from debut, and I think it's a similar idea to Red Velvet. I was with them from like the very beginning, and it was one of the first few girl groups I got to watch from the beginning. And I always loved their concept, even from the beginning, and they had that little bit of a weird cutesy era. Then they added more members, and then they just kept getting stronger and stronger. I've always loved watching their careers with them, and I think that's something that's really special about when you get into a group from debut. I do not regret a single second of my time as a CLC stan because I've always loved seeing what they do next. And the song that actually debuted Elkie and Eunbin, No Oh, is actually still one of my favourite title tracks by them. So yeah, definitely one that I was glad I was there since debut for. Next group I want to talk about is Stray Kids, and the song that made me stan I would technically say is Easy. There's always been Stray Kids songs I liked, and then releases in between that I wasn't a fan of. So like I loved District 9 and Miro and some of the earlier songs, but then there was a time where they kind of fell off a bit for me personally, and I didn't like Levanta, I didn't like Side Effects, I didn't like Double Knot, you know, that sort of thing. But when God's Menu came out, I was literally blown away. I think it came out in the pandemic, didn't it? Like quite early on. And my friend sent it to me to listen to. Not gonna lie, otherwise I probably wouldn't have listened to it because I wasn't really following any of their music beforehand for quite a while. But I am so glad that I did. But then I was wary when they were coming back in case I didn't like their next release, and then I heard Easy and oh my god, my mind was blown. And then it was Backdoor, I think, etc, and I've loved everything they've done ever since. Even the B-sides have just been spot on for me. So now I'm really enjoying my time as a stay, and I'm glad that I finally decided to properly stand and support them because I know they are teasing this world tour that they're doing, and as soon as they come to Europe I will 100% be getting tickets. Let's go to another JYP group, and that is ITZY, and the song that made me stan them was Loco. I'm not gonna lie, the first title track by them that I even liked was only Mafia in the Morning. Prior to that, I was like, I get their message, but it was somewhat lacking authenticity from me after the first 2 or 3 Love Yourself songs. It made it harder to believe that if that's all they're gonna sing about, how do I know who they are as a group? I hope that makes sense. Songs about loving yourself are great, but it got to a point where it was getting really tiresome for me because, yeah, I get it, you wanna tell me to love myself, but I wanna know about you as artists. And I personally think, ever since they released Mafia in the Morning, they have been actualizing themselves as artists. When that song came out, I was like, yes. It was such a breath of fresh air for me because I was not expecting that from ITZY, and it definitely made me stand to attention to be like, okay, let me see what you do next. And then they released Loco, and I was 100% on board. Here I am now. That's probably my favourite song by them now. It's always going to be a toss-up between In the Morning and Loco, but Loco was just such a bop. I know a lot of ITZY fans weren't necessarily a fan of it, but it hooked me straight away. I don't know what it is, there's just something about it that is so addictive for me. Next up we have TXT, and the song that got me to stan them was Crown. I was so excited for their debut because, you know, another big hit boy group, and when this song came out I loved it, and I thought the concept was so fun. It was so age appropriate and it suited them really well, and they seemed to be having a genuinely really great time with it. You could see the potential they had so early on. I actually had the honour of watching them get their first ever win on the show for this song, and I don't have any clips to prove I was there in person because you weren't allowed to record, but I will put a clip on screen of them winning if I can find one. Yeah, it was just such a beautiful moment, and then we got to watch them come out out at the end, and they seem so sweet and likable. I pretty much went to Myeongdong like the day after and bought the album. I really enjoy standing them now because I've watched them go from strength to strength ever since. I think the concept they've been doing recently, kind of like the rock pop punk concept, is just chef's kiss. Nobody's doing it like them, and I'm really excited to see where they continue to grow. Next up, we're going to talk about NCT, but we're going to break this down into the song that made me stan U, 127 and Dream, because there's different ones, of course. The song that made me stan NCT U was The Seventh Sense.
Open your eyes, truly open your eyes, open your eyes.
I think I've mentioned before how conceptual I think this was, and I will stand by that. I was in awe of this, and I've not seen anything like it before. I was an SM Rookies fan, and I loved Mark, so to see that he was debuting was so exciting for me, and this song had me hooked from first listen. Next up was NCT 127, and the song that made me stan them was Fire Truck.
Fire truck.
Yes, I loved this debut as well. I was already hooked on NCT U, so when I found out we were getting NCT 127 and then this bop came out, I was so happy. And I still think Fire Truck is up there as one of their best bops. People might not agree with me because they've had so much music since, but Fire Truck is so underrated. I remember back in the day, we all bopped that song. And last but not least, NCT Dream. I'm gonna get dragged for this one. The first release I liked by NCT Dream that I really thought, yes, I want to stan, was Ridin'. After Ridin' was released, that was when I really began to enjoy NCT Dream's concept, and I thought that personally simply just came down to taste for me. The cute concept that they had was not up my street, to be honest. There was absolutely nothing wrong with their music, it just wasn't my taste, and I understand the audience that they were targeting was not me, simply enough. But when Ridin' came out, that was right up my street, and they've done some songs since in a similar concept that I've really loved, and that made me decide, yes, I want to stan them. I mean, I was already standing all of NCT anyway, it was more like I want to stan this unit separately, and I wasn't doing that prior. I hope that makes sense. And last but not least, let's talk about another one of my alt groups, and that is Mamamoo. The song that made me stan them was Go Go Baby. I think I talk about Mamamoo as if I've been alting them since debut, but that is not the case. I could have been, and I'm sad I missed out on that opportunity for the first few years, I will be honest. I loved them and their sound when they debuted. It kind of reminded me of a British girl group we had over here called Stussy, who had like a retro concept as well. They were very similar to Mamamoo, and Mamamoo even covered one of their songs once. But I think I will admit, I was one of them people who succumbed to peer pressure, and their reputation was kind of what stopped me from stanning. I'd heard a lot about what they'd done wrong, and nothing about what they'd done to correct it, which is my fault for not doing my own research, and I'm sure a lot of people will have been in the same boat. My point is that I held off on standing them, and I didn't pay any attention to what they were doing for quite a while until Egotistic came out, and I could not deny how catchy and fun that song was. I really liked it. I found myself getting it stuck in my head a lot, and I just couldn't deny it anymore that it was a really good song and I was interested in them. I then admittedly forgot about them again because I was busy standing on my other faves and stuff, and then Go Go Bebe came out, and it was like I was suddenly a seasoned Moo, and I became obsessed, and I suddenly knew everything about them. All the releases that I'd missed, I got to catch up on. I got to watch all the variety shows that they were on, and I just genuinely had a really good time. And I was thinking about how I used to love Mr. Ambiguous back in the day, and I was like, why didn't I just start standing them? And instead of listening to people who told me, oh no, they're problematic, why didn't I do my own research to find out, well, yeah, they have made mistakes, but they have also owned up and apologized for them. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But either way, I am really glad that I'm a fan of them now. I will be seeing them at the K-pop Flex concert in Germany. I may or may not have bought tickets to fly from the UK to Germany just to go see them. Doesn't being a K-pop fan make you do funny things? It does, doesn't it? But either way, I am very excited to see them properly in concert. Okay guys, and that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching if you got this far, and I hope hearing me talk about my own music tastes wasn't boring. I personally love hearing K-pop fans talk about the songs that made them stan groups and their thoughts. I just think it's really interesting how we all end up where we are from different ways. So if you want to sound off in the comments and let me know what songs got you into your favourite groups, I would love to know. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here and have not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button down below and turn on the notification bell. That will let you be the first to hear whenever I upload. And as always, my social medias will be on screen if you'd like to give them a follow. That is my Twitter and my Instagram. I always follow back fellow K-pop stans, so let's be friends. And I will see you next time. Bye guys!